Ya hey, ya hey, hey ya hey ya. Way ya ya, oh way ya ya, hey ya hey ya. Way ya ya, oh way ya ya, hey ya hey ya. Wakanta kanchimalaye, wanita chale chamu, hey ya hey ya. Way ya ya, oh way ya ya, hey ya hey ya. Way ya ya, oh way ya ya, hey ya hey ya. Way ya ya, way ya ya, ya hey ya hey, hey ya hey ya. Way ya ya, oh way ya ya, hey ya hey ya. Way ya ya, oh way ya ya, hey ya hey ya. Wakanta kanchimalaye, wanita chale chamu, hey ya hey ya. Way ya ya, oh way ya ya, hey ya hey ya. Way ya ya, oh way ya ya, hey ya hey ya. So the people may live is why I do this. I send my voice so those who I love may live. I send my voice so the nation, so the community may be able to live. That's a bad translation of that song. So be aware as you go into this journey to achieve justice, to achieve peace. What's going on here, or what is going to happen the moment that you develop a voice. What are you going to be able to transform after you transform yourselves? Good luck. All right, so hold on, don't clap. Not because I don't like it, I have an ego. I really like it. But so we also have to say this is with everything, it's with everyone that we're gonna do everything. So I'm just a weird guy that didn't sleep well last night, that's coming here to sing to you for a little bit and send you in your journey. But you are the ones who are doing the work. So as you clap for each other, because it's with everyone that we're going to do everything. All right, now let's clap.
If we could just get a sense of who's in the room by going around really quickly again. Giving us your name, your year, and your program, that would be terrific. What we're going to do as we go forward, pardon me, unfortunately, because it's a kickoff, we're going to do a little bit of logistic stuff. So forgive me and forgive us right from the get-go. That's going to be a little bit of sort of giving you an idea of what to expect. We're going to provide a few examples of some things that you might think about, a framework of how you might think about how we might embark on this work. Then we're going to try to, or we're not going to try, then we're going to break you all out. We've assigned you to groups based on your interests, the interests that you stated when you applied. And we will put you in contact with some wonderful alumni, professional advisors, people who work in the field, who are doing this work in communities and institutions, who can help, along with us, connect you with a lot of resources and opportunities. And we already see, regardless of where we come from, the opportunity and privilege of being in a university space. It doesn't always feel that way, but especially when they lock you out of 10, but the opportunity and privilege we have and the idea to share with others. So, and then we'll do some reporting back and closing words and a little bit of closing song as well. So let's do the introduction to the year program. I'm Joby. My year is about infinity, and my program is CS. Thank you. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna shift to a little bit of a overview of the program, and this is why I was joking with Shanita, it's actually triple duty. She's describing, she's introducing herself, and she's giving us our overview. You want me to pull up the slide? Oh, and by the way, who has all the names? Ready? Working on. We may send around name tag. Or...
Yeah, we're sending them around.
Perfect. Thank you.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the program in general, but please feel free to join in if I miss anything or don't add anything. So this is where we got Liped Khan. It's from Mary Church Terrell, who was a longtime educator and civil rights activist. And Liped Khan very much sort of symbolizes what we hope to do here. And sort of with that idea of generosity and collaboration, we hope to come together and really do some good work for equity and justice in the city. And that takes all of us, so thank you so much for being here. Let's see. So the idea for the program actually started with Jody, who stepped out. So he brought all of us in to really sort of collaborate in terms of what we know and what we do as a call, but also sort of outside of the university to really develop a program that we hope will be, as Tomas said, something that is transformative for us individually, but also as a collective. So you've gotten your name tags, and there's like a color on there. So there are three groups. They are higher education, literacy, and community building / criminal justice. So we'll be getting into those groups a little later. So those groups are based on your interests that you identified in your application. And so before we sort of get into that work, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the program itself and sort of the breakup. So you all have in your folder,
Does anybody not have a folder? If you could raise your hand and then we're going to pass those out. There you go. Here, I got it.
So in there should be like a timeline and project description. So I'll just go briefly over sort of the major assignments and events. So the first one is obviously this one. Welcome. And then, so as you work with your groups, you're going to be developing a project, some sort of initiative, and in order to sort of set the groundwork for that, we hope that you'll develop a proposal with each other. So that's gonna, we're giving you a lot of time to work on that, but it's April 1st. And then the project itself can take lots of different forms. So there are some guidelines on that handout too for what that can be. And the project itself is not like you develop this thing and it's the end is at, in May. It's really just a presentation of what the thing is throughout the program. And then at the end, there will be a symposium where you can present all that work to each other and to wider community. I hope that sort of covers the basics. So now, Becky is going to...
All right, thank you so much, Shanita. So I'm going to pass out, I was able to pass out the majority of the name tags to you all, but I didn't get to everybody before my time. So if you don't have it, I'm just going to pass around the big clump and look through for your name, all right? Thank you very much. And Joby just opened the doors because it's a little warm in here with everybody,
like
all the excitement and energy. Look, if we would have had that up. All right, so in your folders, and again, if anybody is missing it, you can raise your hand and you can get a folder for you. Can I hold this up for you? All right, so you're going to have a sheet. We this out to you as well, but this is the role expectations. And so we really see this group as kind of like an interdisciplinary and intergenerational group, which we absolutely love. And the board is made up of faculty at different levels, and students and staff, and then all of you are, we value your participation as well as the community advisors that we have. And so really we see all of us together as a team moving this mission forward. And so just briefly, I just wanted to kind of break down each of these roles and kind of what the expectations are for each, just so that we're all on the same page. We know who to go to when we have questions or ideas and that, all right? So you have already met the board members, and again, we mentioned that Cassidy is not here, but I'm sure you'll see her at some point. But basically, all these people who are standing up right now are the people who've created and developed this program. And we meet, yay! We meet regularly to be able to put this together and organize it and create the curriculum for this program. And so you can contact us if there's going to be one faculty member in each of the groups, and you can contact us if you have questions. Everybody knows, because we've shared the Lift As You Climb at gmail.com. You can email that if you have logistical questions. And so that's the board members. And then we also have our professional advisors. And so this is going to be an opportunity for us to get to know our professional advisors just a little bit more. And what these professional advisors are is they are experts within the community who are doing social justice work and leadership, and they are, each group is going to have one professional advisor to be working with, and they're going to be kind of our, ears on the ground person to help get us ideas and inspiration. And so if we could just take a couple minutes, maybe like 30 seconds to a minute, if the professional advisors who are here could just stand up and introduce yourselves, and then we'll keep rolling. So.
Hello again. I am. My title says president, but I do see my role as a missionary. I am president of LAYC College, one of the community colleges here in the city of Chicago. Roughly about 17,000 students, half credit-seeking students, the other half adult ed students. So I've been in higher ed for about 7-8 years. Before that, I worked at the Chicago Public Schools, writing most of their policies. So I've been in education for about 20 years now. And we're doing some really good work. LAYC College is really the first STEM community college in the city of Chicago. We're building a 50,000 square foot robotics, engineering, and manufacturing center. So I've been traveling around the world to figure out what kind of equipment we're going to have, but it'll be unlike no other community college in the country. And we'll be training both our communities as well as the incumbent workers who work at these companies that need further training. So.
And just a quick, I can't share the space with Eduardo. And Dr. Troy Harden coming in. Hey,
Perfect
how you doing,
timing.
sir? I can't share the space with Eduardo without just saying that often our students are our best teachers. And Eduardo and I worked together a number of years ago, and I continue to learn from him and his example. So pleased to have him on board. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. This is great.
Thank you for being here.
I can't match that, but I had 40
Oh,
years
yes,
in public schools, and I retired with 40 years of service to Chicago Public School students. That was 5 years ago, and I continue to work with the students and with staff, and it was the best job ever. And for an urban school system, there's probably no one urban school system as a better example of what the world really is like than the Chicago Public Schools, and we have it right here. I'm very proud to say I'm still working with them. I'm presently at Lubbock School, which is in the Austin community, and I'll be there for a period of time. That principal exited for a reason, and I got a call on a Friday night and said, would you come over? So we're doing that, and it's just great to be part of that whole educational fabric. It is, I think, it is truly, it's a profession that is not for everyone. But if it is for you, it really is the one, and the path that you should pursue. So I'm very happy to be here today, and I'll be with the literacy component.
Thank you, Kathleen. And Dr. Troy Harden, nice to see you, sir. If you could just briefly introduce, we just introduced professional advisors, and yeah, so tell us a little bit about who you are.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
In a minute or less, right?
Yeah.
15
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Troy Harden. I'm a professor at Northeastern Illinois University in the Department of Social Work. I also am the head of our Master's in Social Work program. So I'm a social worker by trade, but was really interested. I worked in schools as a social worker and in community, and I was really interested in the intersection between schools and community. And so I came here to receive my doctorate. Dr. Gardner was one of my professors way back when.
We learn from our students. They
That's
teach
it,
us.
back and forth. And so since then I've been in kind of the higher academic realm. But my work in terms of my research continues to be around young people and the intersection between the criminal justice system and education. A lot of people talk about the school to prison pipeline piece work, and so in some ways my work has touched on that. So, for example, yesterday I spent the day at Stateville where we're looking at education venues or opportunities for people who are currently incarcerated. A number of professors, even the Paul professors, actually teaching.
Yep, Inside Out.
Yeah, Inside Out, and so as well as some other professors around the city. And so was engaged in that piece. Also, right now, work of interest, we're designing a Peace Academy in the city, Metropolitan Peace Academy, where, if you know, some of you know ceasefire, don't shoot, don't want to grow up, those kind of things. So we're professionalizing street outreach work in the city of Chicago, and so we've designed a curriculum, 144-hour curriculum, that currently about 25 street outreach workers actually are going through. Some people remember the movie Interrupters and things like that. So we're training a lot of people who've been working in the streets for a long time to actually facilitate and teach. And many of them are formerly incarcerated and things like that. So again, I look for high impact ways that we can impact our communities, our cities, and ultimately our schools as well. So that's the short piece of my work.
Thank you so much. And so, also just, Kathleen Vanderlick will be leading the literacy group. Eduardo Garso will be leading the higher education group, and Troy Harden will be leading, or advising, I should say, and co-leading the community building and criminal justice group. And forgive me, I'm going to pull out my phone because I have the agenda on here.
I'm just gonna mention
Good,
their
good.
expectations, and then
Good.
that'll allow Jovi to figure out what we're moving through next. So those are our professional advisors, and the groups are gonna be working closely with them. You'll be able to see them here. They're gonna come to our symposium at the end. And we just cannot tell you, we know that you all are such active members of our community, and so we just can't tell you how much we appreciate you being here and us being able to learn from you and with you. And then finally, on the back page is your role. So you all as Lift As You Climb ambassadors, and you are really why we're doing this program. And so just a huge thank you to all of you for your commitment to social justice and to leadership and to making a difference in the community. It's so wonderful to see such diverse people represented in here. And so none of this should be surprising. This was all in the advertisements as we were recruiting and whatnot, and you can read through it, or maybe you already have. But essentially, we just wanted to highlight that your role will be working together in a small group, and again, we're going to get into those in just a minute, and to start the work, actually. And your role will be working with that small group, your professional advisor, your board members, to determine a need and to do a project out in the community, actually, and then in the next 10 weeks or whatnot, and then to showcase that project at our symposium, which is going to be on May 19th. And so that's your mission, and we're going to start that work again today. with that, in order to get that done, you know, we're all busy and we want to be realistic about that. We are expecting every group to meet at least once a week, or let's just say once a week, not at least once a week, but once a week. And so that would be probably about an hour. And so today we'll figure out how we're going to schedule those. And so you'll meet once a week, and that's with your group. And then individually, you all have been enrolled in D2L, which is, we have a Lift As You Climb D2L site. And so each week there'll be readings and videos, some of them that we strongly encourage, require, some of them that are optional if you're just really into it and you want to get more. We're going to put that up there for you to engage with on your own. And then each week there'll be a discussion for us to engage with our small groups as well. And so there'll be that, and that's the importance of that reflection component that we've talked about today. So that's really the requirements of this program, and we're going to be with you every step of this way to be able to make some really meaningful work happen out in the community. So with that, I think we're going to turn it over to how are we going to make this happen a little bit, right? And some ideas about what that might look like.
So let me introduce another. This is the privilege and the opportunity we have, and again, sometimes it doesn't feel like that when it's late at night and we have paper to write or whatever, but the privilege and opportunity we have of being in the space of the university. I want to introduce a friend and colleague, Kim Popes, to talk a little bit about ABCD, or Asset-Based Community Development.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kim Hopes. I am the Assistant Director of ABCD Partnerships at the Stain Center. The ABCD Institute, which stands for Asset-Based Community Development, its mission is to support and promote strong and sustainable communities. And that's based on a very simple yet powerful concept that it is far more effective to focus on the strengths and resources that exist within individuals and organizations in a community, hence their assets, rather than focusing solely on the problems and deficiencies in communities. And the research for the Institute started with two professors at Northwestern University named John McKnight and Jody Kretzman. And they were at the Center for Urban Affairs at Northwestern. Both were very aware of lots of research that was going on in the country, particularly university research, that focused on urban communities and how to solve issues in these urban communities. But they felt like so much of it focused on institutional policy changes as the solutions to fixing communities from the outside. And both, although John and Jody Kretzman are both academics, their history is largely in community organizing. And so their perspective was nobody was looking at neighbors in these communities. Nobody was looking at what was happening that was positive in the communities that would actually affect change and sustainable change. So they spent about 4 years traveling across the U.S., interviewing community members and in many, many cities, and asking a simple question is, what have residents in this neighborhood done, as no matter how small it was, that have affected change? And they found that the community members were actually very excited about talking about things that were going on in their communities. You know, individuals who had strengths and assets and things to share, and creative problem solvers. And so in the course of these 4 years of this research, they came up with all these stories and put them in this book called Building Communities from the Inside Out. This was published probably close to 25 years ago, but it has sold over 100,000 copies. It's become sort of the leading Bible for community development. And then although this concept seems really simple and maybe obvious that you should be looking at the community assets and the individuals in communities, historically it's not been the way that researchers and funders and people have looked at communities and continue to today, and it's actually quite a challenge to turn that around. But the Institute is, we're now at DePaul. We've been at Northwestern for many, many years, but as of a year ago, last fall, we were very excited to join the DePaul community, and we feel like our mission matches with your mission. And the resources that we have that we can hopefully help provide you. Number one is that I'm the administrative arm of the institution, but our institute, the heart of the institution really is in what we call our ABCD faculty members. They are, Mary Nelson is one of these faculty members who's here in Chicago. There are close to 50 between faculty and fellows, and they're basically experts who have, well, I'll say they're people who have practiced this ABCD methodology. They're ones who have used it in communities, they've trained communities to learn how to do this, and they are an incredible resource that the Institute has that we can hope to share with you. The Institute also is the home of many, many publications that faculty members have contributed to. We have a website, abcdinstitute.org, just Google ABCD Institute, and you'll find videos and publications and training materials. Mary is hopefully, and maybe one of our other faculty members will work with you guys in, teaching you a little bit about these principles and helping you integrate them into the work that you're doing. So we're looking forward to working with all of you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kim. Now, I may need a little tiny tech assistance here because I'm scrolling back and forth between my phone and the tech up here. But what we are going to do right now, based on the agenda, is we're going to show you some examples of the kind of work that you might undertake or think about in your groups. Think about what you and your group might embark upon. Think about these as only little possibilities. So, a couple of years ago now, which seems hard to believe, I was fortunate to have the opportunity to work with Chicago Public Schools, specifically what used to be called the Network of Alternative Schools, and is now called the Office of Educational Options. And they came to me and some others and said, hey, we have this interesting challenge. Young people are getting locked up and they're not going back to school. You've worked with young people in incarcerated or secure settings, Joby. What can you tell us about that? Well, let me put on my expert hat and tell you how to fix that problem. Hold on, back it up. Let's talk to some of the young people. So we went out to the CC, what is it called, Cook County Juvenile Detention Center, specifically Nancy B. Jefferson School inside Juvenile Hall. And we interviewed some young people in there. And then we worked with a team in back of yards at Peace and Education Coalition Alternative High School, specifically their Second Chance campus. And we interviewed everyone, but most of our interviews were other young people who had been in this situation. So they'd been locked up, they had gone back to school or had struggled to go back to school, and they, being the young people, knew who to ask better than me. We also talked to school principals, we talked to police officers, we talked to community members. So let me just read you, forgive me, I'll read you a letter that the young people that we worked with wrote. And they wrote it specifically with the product of our research, our collective research. Dear fellow citizen, are you listening? I was going to a charter school. The charter school found out about my case. They found out I had a bad record. So then they said I might not be a good influence. So then they decided to kick me out. They kicked me out. Some people always knew I was a good kid, but you know, when you do too much bad stuff, they'll start thinking of you different. I decided to fix my problems in my old school. I tried to go back. I tried getting back into school. I had to wait until the next school year. I basically wasted my half my school year not going to school. I thought I was never going to get back in. I thought that the school was going to take me back, not going to take me back because of my case. This school accepted me. I always tried to get back in school. I love school. Ain't nobody stopped me. Because you hear the young people here, and sometimes surprising, I love school. I had to push myself. Gotta find a school to where I'm gonna feel safe. I can focus on my work. It's not easy what we have to go through. Was it like this where you grew up? I mean, walking from the crib, getting shot at on the way to school, then there's the cops. I was on 72nd and Racine, coming around the corner, it was cold outside, and when they saw it's cold, you can see it's wintertime, I had my hoodie on, they looked at me, they pulled me over. Now I ain't do nothing, we just walk, and it's cold outside. Why are you pulling me over? Because your hand was in your pocket, huh? It's cold as hell. And you pull me over because my hand's in my pocket? Like, don't got nothing. I didn't do nothing. It's cold out here. Of course my hand's in my pocket. And being on your own with nobody to rely on. My family doesn't really mess with me like that because of all the times I've been getting locked up. They stopped messing with me. We heard mom and dad in here, right, in the room. About 2 or 3 years now, I stopped calling them. Don't ask them for nothing. You gotta watch your back. I always gotta watch my back, though. Even in my hood, I have to watch my back. Because I can't trust nobody. I get paranoid. So I look around just in case, like I was cursed. Except friends. I know what I be doing, and I know the people I hang with. It's just a part of when you're growing up by yourself. The people that you hang with, that's all you go through. You know, I grew up around a lot of people who were gangbanging, so, you know, as a shorty, I thought it was cool. So at a young age, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I didn't expect it. She told me to be a lookout, so I went. But we're trying to get back in school to stay in school, hoping things will be different this time. Now I'm in second chance. What helped me return to school? Support. Support was all I really needed. This like makes me, you know, get all fired up as a teacher or counselor. My fellow citizens, don't continue to ignore us. We want a better life. Your support is all we need. Peace and education. And there's the research team we worked with. And now, take a peek at how they presented their work to national and international audiences. Pardon me, some of you may have seen me celebrate people's history. So this one was about the Austin community in particular, and I had a lot of cool ones, but you can take a look, you can sort of circulate through. But one more example of what it might look like is when I asked the young people who I worked with in backyards, I said, how can we get the word out? I said, let's write a paper. They're like, oh, no. No. And we still kind of had to write a little bit of a paper, but they're like, let's do a video. So we called in some artists, and that's another thing. Sometimes in the face of what feels like a lot, how are we going to move this issue? How are we going to move society? Things are the way they are, they've always been that way, they're never going to change. Oh, who's me, what am I to? Sometimes art can help us realize, look, you can spark a little, shine a little light here. So here are the young people from Easton.
We interviewed students.
Bridget.
We interviewed students our age, right, that have been through some of their cases as us, has been incarcerated, and it's been difficult for us to get back to school. And we interviewed them to see what was their different situations each and every one of them had to go through, or the different obstacles they had from when they got kicked out, or from whenever they got incarcerated and got kicked out of school, to where they at right now.
I had to think about what school I'm gonna go to. I mean, if I'm gonna go to this school and do the same thing, I'm gonna go to this school and find the same people, or I'm gonna be, I gotta find a school, so I'm gonna, feel safe, and I ain't gotta find out to focus on my work. I mean, your neighborhood is like your safe place where you're supposed to feel safe. If you don't feel safe in your own neighborhood, I mean, what else safe you gonna feel?
How was it when you tried to go back to school?
It wasn't easy because I hadn't been to school in like a year. One of the other things is that I grew up with my mom, and I think if she was still here, even though I was still gangbanging, I wouldn't probably be here like if I had my mom. I just want to finish high school, like do a couple years of college. I just want to finish school. That's all I want. That's my main priority right now. After that first time I got arrested, I went to school and I just kept getting arrested, and I kept getting arrested for different things, and I just eventually gave up on school and I just dropped out.
Did you try going back to school after all that?
Yeah, I even asked my counselors and the dean and everybody from the school if they could help me out with my course. But they just didn't want me in that school anymore.
And how does this feel about that?
Not so good. I felt like they were pushing me away when they shouldn't have been doing it.
I got a baby on the way. I gotta think about how to provide for that kid, because I'm still in school. Kids can't eat books, kids can't write homework. You feel me? They're not gonna live in the school. So I gotta start growing up now. I just get myself prepared before I walk out the door every morning. I'm gonna make sure shoes tied up tight, pants pulled up, belt tight, all until I get to school.
Why is it important that your shoes are tied and your belt is up tight?
Just in case somebody wanted to shoot at me or something.
So you can,
Run. I won't have to pick my pants up or nothing like that.
you ran here from 2 blocks away, and then what happens?
I just continue my regular day.
We went to our neighborhood high school where we interviewed the principal and the dean about the obstacles that most incarcerated teens go through to return to school and the difficulties to get back in school.
Well, we have not put anyone out of this school. I would like to call it transition counseling.
Yes.
A lot of what I do is have counseling and then have discipline. Right now, going into this next quarter, we have some students who are, they're overaged. They don't have the educational support program that says that they necessarily need to be here this long. These are kids who we know just are not producing here, and although their behavior may not be bad, they have not shown this type of school environment is going to get them to where we need to be. So their parents are called in. This is where your student is. Let's look at the transcript. He's a 4th-year student. He's still considered a freshman. He's 19 years old. It is your option whether you leave him here or not, but come next year, the school has the right to release him because there's no other classes we can program him into. This is the reality of what's happening.
The challenge of school return for youth in the juvenile justice system is complex. There are no easy answers. But we know that schools need support to figure out how to reintegrate formerly detained and incarcerated youth and to help them graduate.
We seek a new approach, aimed at reversing the pipeline so that our youth can find their way back to school and beyond, not back to prison.
So it's interesting for me as an educator, I didn't know what was happening. We had already collected our data. We had already, in other words, we had interviewed people, we had taken pictures, we had talked to people. I didn't know if they were gonna blow me up, the young people, because I was on tape sometimes, and I'm like, and so it's maybe it's even a little bit uncomfortable. We're educators. We don't want educators called out. We're police officers. We don't want police officers called out. We're parents. We don't want parents called out. And yet, how can we communicate the urgency of what's happening? I want to direct your attention to, I think I actually pulled it up. There's one more handout, or there's probably more than one more handout in your funny craning my neck. And it says something like,
Is it in their folder still?
yeah, it should be in their folder. Andres, you might have. Thank you, sir.
I'm here for you.
So it's called Thank You, Sir. See, this is how it works. I'm here for you, you're here for me. Oh, by the way, and there's Andres already did it, but there's a consent form. If you wouldn't mind, an information sheet, signing that and making sure that you give it to one of us before you leave. If you have
Give
any,
me your exit ticket.
yeah, if you have any questions, if any of that, anything we say doesn't make sense, you want to ask about that, thank you so much, I made a mess here. So the handout looks like this: Lift as you climb, pathways to educational and social justice. It says assignments, and it's a 2-page thing, and project examples. And I just look on the back for a moment. something that you might think about, or some things that you might think about. You might think about some asset mapping of a community or of an organization. Kim, Mary, some of us in the College of Ed and others have done some work like this. And this could take the form of interviewing some folks in that community, interviewing some leaders, interviewing some community members, pardon me, getting a perspective of what assets exist there that could be built on. You might do some kind of a mini program evaluation or organization evaluation based on constituent experiences. You might talk to some people who are taking part in an organization, who are taking part in a program. Let's hear how it's going. Let's talk to some of the leaders. Let's hear what you're trying to do. Are you meeting your mark? Do people feel like you're hitting it? You might think about oral history or other kinds of documentary practices in which you go into a community or you go into an organization or you work with people affected by an advocacy, policy, or an issue, and you document some of their experiences. How is this policy impacting you? What does it feel like to be in this neighborhood? What does it feel like to be a member of this, or to be a recipient of this particular program or something like that? And this is a little beyond my expertise, but I can talk a little bit about it. One nice strategy that often works in organizing in general, but is to conduct informational interviews. So you can call people up, maybe a couple of you go down, you say, or you can arrange with people through contacts. Can we talk to you for 15 minutes? Can we hear a little bit about who you turn to when you need help? Can we talk to you a little bit about what you have in mind for this project, for this program, for this policy? And we at the very last thing on that sheet, project outcomes may include project reports. Hey, young people at Peace and Ed, let's write a paper. But you all are students, so maybe, I don't know. A podcast, a short film, a facilitated community meeting, and you could document that. You could get some people together. You could write that up. A community exhibition, and some of this stuff is around that. You know, so art for social justice, some teacher training and professional development, etc.
What are you looking at right now?
Oh, Marlena, I'm so glad, because if you have the question, other people have the question. It looks like this. It's a two-sided thing. It says Pathways to Leadership for Social Educational Justice. On the front, it has a timeline and assignments, and on the back, it has some project examples.
Okay, no problem. And before any of this stuff, I assume, but I could be off, do we have to get like approval for it? I assume
Well,
IRB stuff?
we operate under a sort of a little bit of a, we don't need formal IRB approval, yes. So because we're doing, and I'll put the language up on D2L, but because we're doing this as part of a project or a class, you don't, and because we're not sharing, because we're not sharing it more largely, we have to talk a little bit about that. But basically, because we're doing this as part of a project or class, we don't need to go through formal IRB approval. Having said that, IRB, for those of you who don't know, Institutional Review Board, and it's a process that is intended to protect the rights of people
Human subjects.
Of human subjects. And so we need to be sure, and this is our collective responsibility, that we are ethical in our behavior, and we need to think, and for social science researchers, like you and me and us, that means thinking long and hard about, is anything that we're going to do, does anything that we do have the potential to cause harm to the people we're working with? And we got to be sure that it doesn't. And I'll post some of the IRB language, but we're exempt for that because this is so although we the team have gone through IRB. So for our research, which means we're going to be asking you to fill out surveys. You may have done it already. We're going to be interviewing you. That is IRB cleared. But the smaller student projects for this, we don't need clearance, and I'll post the language for you. Good question. Thank you. Another thing, yeah, Becky?
Oh yeah, just wanted to draw your attention to the time.
Good. Let's break now into our three groups.
We go with the group that was in here, the literacy group.
So So we talked about a couple different ideas. One thing that we talked about is just the idea and the understanding of what it means to be literate in different cultures and different schools and stuff like that. We also talked about empowering students and people within the community to have the ability to write their own narrative and share their story, being able to do it in a written way, and if they're not comfortable and they don't feel that they can do that, but also being able to learn how to speak it and be communicative that way. And we just talked about the different ideas and things that we could do about how we could get people and places like Chicago libraries and stuff like that involved in being able to maybe create some sort of like additional intervention for our students who don't have the ability or don't have access to practice their literacy skills at home.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kristen O'Neill.
Great. So how about the higher ed group?
Sure, we were discussing.
Name if you don't mind, so sorry.
No problem. I'm Tanisha, again, and this is Meg. And we're both CSD students. Okay. We were just brainstorming ideas about some challenges students may have when thinking about higher education, whether it be marginalized students, first gen, minority students of color, LGBTQIA+ students, and some issues that we came up with were community empowerment, support, technology access, just the privilege that it is to have access to higher education because all students don't have that. Institutional racism, the unwritten rules of college, things that students just don't know going into the higher ed academic environment and challenges that they experience that go along with that. Housing and resource insecurity, mental health and wellness issues, free speech on college campuses, just access to liberal arts education and picking the right majors, not knowing where to start. What if you go in undecided? Maybe like getting them involved in some sort of MBTI workshops or strong interest inventories.
No, it's okay. That's great. Yeah, so once we brainstormed some of those challenges and the dimensions of them, we started talking about what are the resources out there a little bit, like the high school to college transition and what those programs look like. We brought up STARS mentoring program for first gen students and just the impact of admissions. And what we were starting to find is that there are these resources, but do students know about them? Do they feel comfortable accessing them? And so that's where we kind of started to piece together some of the topics we talked about how that might look operationally in the setting we're in.
Beautiful. Thank you, thank you.
And the final group.
Yeah, so we kind of scratched the surface, brainstorming some ideas what directions we might want to go in, why we value this idea of community, why we feel that it's important, and the ideas that we kind of settled on were the importance of schools as institutions, as a part of the community that they're in, the importance of school faculty to take on community roles, take an interest in their students as people, not just as students. Systemic issues as well, how we want to address those, and I can't read our signs.
It's because of my very neat
stories and narratives, understanding our students' stories, allowing them to be able to tell their stories and find themselves as they want to, or as they intend to. Humanity, how we should, that was my idea and I didn't really elaborate on it, but I thought it was important. And connecting, I think it says.
Yep.
Yeah, so we all, just tying it all together again, how the community plays, how the school plays a role in the community, and how we should be kind of equipping schools and the institution of the school and its faculty and members to bring their students together and take an interest in their students' lives.
Ladies and gentlemen, Victoria Lolo. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're getting right up on time. That means that you all and I are in for a big treat. Where is she? Mr. Cora. Mr. Cora, yeah, woo! Would you mind, she was probably like, you didn't need that, but we opened with some centering, we opened with a song, we're gonna go out with a song. How do we organize communities? How do we bring people together around a cause or an issue? Song is one way that we have relied on historically and we continue to do. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cora.
Well, this is a song that was used a lot during the Civil Rights Movement, and I think everybody's got the words. They're different, I've got different words in here, but if somebody has one that's not on here and you want to like call it out, we can go to it. So I'll get everybody started so we can get out of here on time. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Come on, turn me around. This is not a solo. Turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no injustice turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no hatred turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no hatred turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let racism turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let racism turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no jail cell turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no jail cell turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Anybody got one they want to throw out?
Ain't gonna let mass incarceration
Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let mass incarceration turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land.
NRA.
Ain't gonna let NRA turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let NRA turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land.
Donald Trump.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Really looking forward to working with you. A couple of parting announcements. If you haven't turned in your consent form, if you have any questions about that, please turn it in. If you have not yet taken the survey, there is a pre-survey online.
Please stick around here, yeah.
Oh, and we have some, if you haven't taken the survey, yeah, so I get a public look, good. Please stick around, we have some computers, you can take the survey, it's quick. A bunch of Likert questions. What else am I missing?
Professional advisors, if you could see me before you leave real quick.
There is some D2L content. Everything that was passed out today is up on D2L. I think all of you are on D2L.
Yeah.
Maybe professional advisors may not be, but that's another way we can start to communicate. Anything else?
Will the survey be on there? Survey's on D2L right now, yep. Okay, got it. Go in there, and just click on the link, and if you click on it and it gives you an error message, just copy and paste it and put it right into your browser. But it's really important if you could please fill that out today if you haven't already. It's really, really important for us to do this
Because
research right.
remember, we're social science, we're
Yes.
teachers, we're researchers, and this is a so we gotta get you before there's been too much intervention and a host.
Yeah, so please, stick around. It's gonna take you less than 10 minutes to take.
And take food.
And take food and turn in your